3 minutes late. I'm waiting for me. Well, good evening. I would like to welcome members, officers and members of the public to this Southern Rural Area Committee. Before the meeting starts, I would like to invite the committee member and scrutiny officer to explain how proceedings will work this evening.
Thank you, Chair. In accordance with Council policy, this meeting is being audio recorded and filmed. The recordings will be available to listen to on mod.gov and YouTube. If a member wishes to speak, they should use the speak button located on the microphone unit. Please wait for the Chair's invitation before you begin. When requested to vote, voting will be via the yes, no, abstain buttons on your microphone unit. Details of how members voted will be shown on the screens around the room and the results will be visible on the YouTube stream. In the event of a tied vote, the Chair will have the casting vote. Are there any questions before we start the meeting? Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Agenda item 1 is apologies for absence. I have apologies from Ralph Munzer, Terry Tyler, and Faye Frost is attempting to get here, but will clearly be late if she does manage it. Are there any other apologies? Okay. In which case, item 2 is the minutes from the previous meeting on the 30th of June. I propose that we take as read the minutes. May I have a seconder? Okay. Are there any comments on the minutes? If not, I will move to the vote.
Chair, this motion is carried.
Splendid. Item 3 is notifications of other business. There is none. Item 4 is Chair's announcements. I would like to reiterate my welcome to attendees, especially our public speakers. And members are reminded to make any declarations of interest before an item. The detailed reminder about this and speaking rights is set out under the Chair's announcements on the agenda. In which case, item 5 is public participation. We have 3 grant applicants this evening. First, I would like to welcome David Sample from Offaly Parish Council.
Oh, it's on, is it? I beg pardon. I thought red was stop. Goodness me. Good evening, Chairman. Thank you very much for inviting Offaly Parish Council to present this evening. My name is David Sample and I'm clerk to the parish. Just a brief summary. Offaly Parish has 2 villages and 2 hamlets. So we, apart from me, they have 2 of most things, which one of the reasons we're here, because we need your support. This evening, as you will see from your notes, I'm applying for a small grant to help replace one of my notice boards within Offaly Village. The notice board now is really regretfully past its sell-by date. It leaks, the wind makes it rattle, etc., etc. And as you see from the notes, I've had a small grant from Councillor Barnard on his locality budget, and I've been saving a few pennies within the parish precept over the last 12 months. And I look favourably towards your discussion and answer. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. And I wanted to clarify for members at the previous meeting, we combined public participation and the awarding of the grants, and it caused some confusion. So I'm not proposing to do that this evening. Are there any questions for the speaker? Okay, if there are no questions, then I'll invite our second speaker, John Ferguson from Kimpton Primary School.
Good evening to everyone. So I'm John Ferguson, I'm the head teacher at Kimpton Primary School. Since COVID, as lots of schools, they have faced a number of problems as children have returned back to school And one of our two main areas were physical development for our younger children and social, emotional and mental health battles and challenges that they faced. So we set about a project as a school to develop the Key Stage 1 playground outside. The project that we have started in total will cost £25,000. And over the last 2 years, thanks to the help of the PTA and members of the school, we've managed to raise £12,500. And we actually very excitedly started work on the playground this week. We have started with the physical side of it, and that is the play trail that's being fitted. And now what we're looking to do is to bring in the other elements that will support our children around social, emotional, and being able to express themselves. And that is why we're looking for a grant of £1,157, which would be for the art station. As a school, we are experiencing a high number of pupil premium children, so disadvantaged families that are coming to our school. And there's also, as many of us are aware, the cost of living crisis that's affecting families already. We're hoping that the outdoor art space will give opportunities for children that they may not have at home. And furthermore, as a small school with staffing, we do not have the facilities to be able to have an art area indoors at the same time at break time. And this would allow for art to take place outside, where it can obviously be managed and supported by the adults who are looking after lunch times. So yeah, that's from us. And obviously, if there's any questions, very happy to answer.
Councillor Moody.
Thank you. Just one question. This paint station is part of a bigger project, so this is just a small part of a bigger project that you're doing.
Yeah, that's right.
And you've already got saved up 12,000 for that, did you?
So the 12,000 is going towards the physical. So we've got climbing frames going in this week, a stage for children to perform on with a seating area for them to watch each other. There's other elements. So it's the painting station. There's an alphabet spiral, a roadway for them to move around. And there's like a water tower that they're able to use. So we've chosen the art as the one area that we want to start as the next part of the project. Thanks.
Okay, Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Chairman. Have you talked to your local county councillor, Councillor Richard Thake?
Oh, is that still on? Yeah.
Yeah, ready to go.
Yeah, no, we haven't spoken directly. The parish, we believe, so that one of our governors went to the local parish council meeting yesterday, and they are going to help, hopefully, with £500 towards marketing, because one of the biggest issues we face as a school is numbers. So where we're based, we have quite low numbers, and that has impacted hugely on being able to the running costs of the school. So we're hoping that they're going to help with £500 towards marketing to support the school, increase numbers.
I was going to say I did contact Councillor Thake because I don't know if I should talk about it now or when we get into discussion of grants. Normally, when we look at a grant application, we usually like, if that's the project, some match funding in there as well. But obviously, you've said tonight that you've got the total project was what, about 25,000, and you've already raised 12.5. Okay. I have spoken to Councillor Thake, and he has given me good news. But I'll do that when we talk about the grants, when we're awarding.
Okay, certainly. Are there any further questions? In which case, we will move on to the Breachwood Green Charity Group, who unfortunately weren't able to attend this evening, so have sent a written contribution.
Thank you, Chair. So I'll read out what's in the report and a few extra lines that they sent me. So Breachwood Green Charity Group conduct monthly parish-wide litter picks to keep the area clean using local resident volunteers. They provide pop-up, not-for-profit coffee shops to encourage social interaction and mobilisation in the local community. They would like funding towards hall hire and refreshments for 2 community coffee mornings, which will be held in October and December 2022. It is hoped that through charging for the refreshments, they will go towards funding future events. Management of their website, which is used to communicate and engage with the local residents and avoid paper wastage, and also to fund the annual insurance for litter picking. Local residents will benefit from the group's works. The meetups provide an opportunity to connect and build community resilience. In 1 year, they have increased from 4 to 15 volunteers involved in their monthly litter picking. He also asked me to add, we have collected in the parish over 4 skipfuls of debris and litter for 2021 to 2022 and work very closely with Urbasa to get it collected. Residents have noticed a positive difference and our county councillor David Barnard supports this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm not sure how questions would work on a written report, so go on then.
Can we just confirm the match funding is £10?
Yes, so that's from a previous coffee shop that they did in June. I believe the aim would be funds that are raised from these coffee mornings would then help to go towards future coffee mornings.
This coffee morning's only raised £10.
Yeah, well, I don't know whether there are other funds.
Yeah, but on the best bits that we
Yes.
know, it's only they've had one coffee morning before and it's raised £10.
Or that's my understanding. From
Okay.
the information.
Is that a legacy hand? Okay. In which case, I'll move on to agenda item 6, which is the grants and community update. Amy, to present an update on the budget for Southern Rural.
Thank you, Chair. So for the 2022 to 2023 base budget, it was £8,700 with £222 carried forward from the 2021 to 2022 budget. £1,780 was granted at the last committee meeting. So this leaves a budget available of £7,142. The grant applications for this meeting total £2,316. And if the members agree the grants outlined in this report, this will leave a balance of £4,826.
Okay, at this point, with that fresh in our minds, I would suggest that we take recommendations 2.1 to 2.4 from this item before moving on to the rest of the report. In which case, item recommendation 2.2 is the consideration of the £500 grant to Offaly Parish Council. Councillor Strong.
I'm very happy to move that we award £500 because it's got lots of match funding there. And I know the board in question and it definitely needs to be replaced.
Were you trying to come in there? Yeah. Councillor Nash.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm happy to second that.
Okay, splendid. Are there any comments or shall we proceed to the vote? Let's proceed to the vote.
Chair, that motion is carried.
Splendid. And congratulations. In which case, recommendation 2.3 is the £1,157 to Kimpton Primary School. So was there an amendment to the amount there?
Thank you, Chairman. As I indicated earlier, I did contact Councillor Richard Fake and ask him whether or not he'd got locality budget that he would like to give to Kimpton School. And he has emailed to say that he has £500 he would like to award to you guys as to part for the painting station. So that gives us the match funding for it. So I think if we could amend the amount, so it's that, and he just says, if you could email Amy or to him directly, and he said use all his emails So it definitely gets there. So county, district, and I can give you his personal one as well if you need it. And then he'll make sure that from the county side that the forms get filled in and presented. So I'm happy to move 657. If that's my maths is right.
That was my number as well. And Councillor Moody to second.
Yeah, happy to second that.
Splendid. The Councillor Munster, the ward councillor for Kimpton, who's unable to be with us this evening, did request that I pass on, however, his support for this grant if I was able to. So I'm sure he will be very pleased that this has been proposed and seconded. Are there any further comments before we move to the vote? Okay.
Chair, this motion is carried.
Excellent. And congratulations again.
Thank you.
In which case, recommendation 2.4 is the final grant to the Breachwood Green Charity Group. Councillor Strong.
Yeah, as they're not here, do we know how the application is broken down? All we've got is one figure.
So I think we've got £300 for the website management. For the hall hire, it's £180, refreshments £90, annual insurance for Litter Pick £98.97.
I've got a seconder, so I think knowing the breakdown, I think I would like to move that we would support their hall hire and the insurance to keep that going. I'm not sure that I'm so happy about the website because I do see them on Facebooky stuff when they're talking about it. And maybe that's something they could either take back to the parish at Kings Walden, or maybe they could go and ask their county council for if they've got locality budget. So I think that would be what I would propose. If you can tell me what those other two numbers less the website are. Oh, there's a calculator coming out. Because I don't quite understand what website management means.
So to confirm, you're happy to fund the hall hire and the refreshments for the hall? Because
There is a group of people that come together to do it, and they do an amazing task of collecting up and then leaving all the black bags by the side of the road. And we all think fly tipping has happened, but actually it isn't. They've done their litter pick. And they're just waiting for your ambassador to come and pick stuff up. And I know that, for this group, we did in 2021 award them £441 for their equipment.
okay, so it would be £368.97, but to make it easier, well, £369.
Okay, I'm happy to move that number.
I'm happy to second that.
Okay, Councillor Moody second. I have one question about doing this myself. I'm aware that as this is a written representation, they were warned that if the committee had questions, it may get deferred. If they are not able to find match funding and did have a better explanation for the extra amount, would awarding the partial grant preclude them from deferring the remainder? I'm just checking we're not about to lock them out of something in the event that they said, oh no, we didn't explain that well, we'd like to come back.
I don't see why they couldn't then come back then in December if they wanted to reapply.
That was my question,
well,
really,
I
yes.
think my understanding was we could defer the overall decision and we would have to come back, but I don't know parts.
Back, I would like that we do the first part and may just say we'd like some further information on the last part as to whether or not they
Yeah.
could find it from the parish or and then if not, then we bring it back to our next meeting then.
Yes.
Hopefully they'll find that funding from other sources.
Yes. Is that possible that we award the amount we've said and then we defer the rest if they're not able to find match funding?
Yeah, we ask them if they can find it from
Yeah.
elsewhere. If not, to come back to us. I think that's fair enough.
Okay. So yeah, we'll.
I also just have one more. So that amount I have hasn't got the minus of the £10, their match funding. So which do we want to do 369 or 359? Let me see what I mean. Yeah, I just thought I'd double check. Thank you.
Okay, so my understanding is that we are proposing to award 369 now and defer the remainder of the grant to our next meeting if they are not able to find match funding. Yeah. Okay, are there any more comments before we go to the vote? In which case, we'll go to the vote.
Chair, this motion is carried.
Splendid, in which case I will hand back over Amy for the rest of the report.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I just wanted to take this opportunity to expand a bit more on some of the items that the team have been working on recently. So we had our first online parish forum meeting this week on Monday. So just to recap, that's an opportunity for parishes in the local area to meet online to discuss issues and projects that they're working on. We had 4 parishes represented, and thank you very much to Councillor Claire Strong for also attending. For this meeting, I also invited Christine Adams, who is Rural Engagement Officer at Citizens Advice North Herts, to introduce her role and what they can offer. She's very keen to meet everyone in the rural area to see how they can support. Topics that came up were the cost of living crisis in particular. We talked about highlighting what benefits there are out there, and then also the North Herts Council Ease the Squeeze campaign, and received positive feedback from the meeting. So the next one, we're planning to do it twice a year, so it'll probably likely be in springtime. So I'll be sharing those details out with you. And then earlier this week, myself and my colleague Danny Pearson, and we presented in a webinar for North Herts CVS for Ukrainian guests and their hosts. In the report, it says it was the 14th of September, but the date was then changed to the 27th. The webinar will be made available on YouTube, and I'll be in touch when that link is available if you wish to have a watch. So in it, we highlighted activities and initiatives available and began with highlighting the North Herts Ukraine support page. And we also highlighted the coffee mornings that are being organised at the Hitchin Town Hall and North Herts Museum. So these are for all refugees. The next one is on the 26th of October, 10 till 12. And it's an opportunity for all refugees to speak to local groups, ask for advice, things such as local English lessons or initial career advice. And then we've also been processing grants to utilise the Health Protection Board funding. So some of the funding was awarded to Citizens Advice North Herts. They received £19,327 towards a post-COVID rural outreach project, which is funding the Rural Engagement Officer role, who was Christine, who attended the parish forum meeting. So again, raising awareness of the service in the rural areas. And then finally, to celebrate Local Democracy Week, we've been contacting local primary schools to coordinate visits from local councillors. So we've had a couple of schools interested from the southern rural area, and thank you to those who have offered help with this. And I believe my colleague Becca is arranging the final dates for visits for that. And then since writing the report, I just had a couple of updates from previous grant applications that I wanted to share. So from the last meeting in June, we awarded funding to Holwell Parish Council towards tables, chairs the Cooker and Fridge freezer for their new pavilion. So I spoke to Anne this week, and the pavilion is almost ready. They were finishing off tiling and painting and the flooring of the changing rooms. So then once that's done, they'll be purchasing tables and chairs and so forth. And then one from last year, Kipton Cricket Club, who the committee awarded £2,500 in June 2021 towards the purchase of a wicket mower. So I have an update from Simon Thompson, who's the chair of the Kipton Cricket Club. So he says, please let me extend the gratitude of everyone at Kipton Cricket Club for your committee's generosity in providing us with the funds to purchase a fantastic refurbed Dennis multi-cassette mower. As discussed in our submission, the purchase of this piece of kit was a key element in our development plan and has allowed us to maintain and improve the quality of the playing experience. Other elements of the development plan, which would not have been possible to sustain for any period in the absence of a suitably maintained playing service, have been the promotion and hosting of the ECB's All-Stars and Dynamos programmes for cricketers aged 5 to 8 and 8 to 11 respectively, and our extension beyond friendly Sunday cricket into the dizzy heights of Hearts League cricket. I'm delighted to be able to say that in their first competitive junior match, the under-10s had tremendous fun, as well as coming out on top against local rivals from Hatfield. And in this, our inaugural season, I'm delighted also to be able to report that our senior team managed to finish top in Division 12 North of the Hearts Saracens League, and earned promotion a giddy 2 rungs up the ladder into Division 10 for the next season. So the club and its committee will continue to focus on building upon the tremendous momentum your intervention helped create. That's really great feedback to hear how well the cricket team's been doing. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I was going to say marvelous, thank you. And it is always good to get feedback on the good things our grants have done. So this relates, of course, to recommendation 2.5, that the committee be recommended to endorse the actions taken by the community engagement team to promote greater community capacity and wellbeing for Southern Rural. I am happy to move that from the chair, if I may have a second. Okay, Mandy. And yes, are there any questions on the report? Councillor Strong?
Yes, as the officer mentioned, I did go along to the rural focus group, or whatever you call it, and forum thingy. There were only 4 parish councils represented there. I don't know how many you'd had invited in total.
Invited all the parishes in the Southern Rural area. I had asked my colleague who leads on the rural areas around Baldock and Royston, and had one from them expressing interest, so I'd shared the details with them, but I'll continue to kind of promote it and think, and I'm trying to aim to visit more parish meetings and things as the months go on, so hopefully they'll get to know me and come along.
I mean, it wasn't only, I think there were only 4 there, weren't there? So 4, most of them seem to come out of Hitchford, Offa and Who. Some of the feedback I've had has not been terribly great, actually. So I'll perhaps have a word with you on side on that. I think doing things during the day doesn't always suit people, as we know. And we used to run as a council what do they call it? It was like a day, an evening. It was a rural conference which started sort of late-ish afternoon and go on to the evening, and had various topics at that. And that actually, when we were in the council chamber, it used to be packed because the parish councils came along and there was a lot on it, not a single item. We'd go through various either topics, and that was a better time because parish councils, you know, if you don't pick the night it's their parish council, they do come out at night. Because a lot of them, you know, the councillors are working. So I also felt that, you know, like the presentation that was done on the CAB, and I had attended the CAB AGM earlier in the month, and again there was a lot of information in there with partners, and it would have been a good presentation to actually brought here to this committee, because again, councillors then know what's available out there, and we can take those messages back to the communities. I just feel we're trying to do something along. I don't know whether we ought to be doing it as not outside of Southern Rural. If this is something that's, of interest to Southern Rural, I think we should be doing it in this meeting, in this forum. It doesn't seem to be the right place for it. This was the first meeting I know, but it didn't kind of resonate with me, that, and certainly the feedback I've had from some of the parishes, that it was, I suppose they came along to see how it went, but I don't think they got an awful lot out of it, because it was only a single issue topic.
Yes, I think thought I'd give the first meeting a go and kind of get a sense of what topics they'd want to hear in the future, to then get a sense of other speakers as well. But yeah, I'm very open to, seeing how it works, and just thought give it a go, and happy to adapt from feedback.
And my comment is, when I read your spreadsheet, it says carry forward, and then you've got in project, you've got whole parish allocated 222, and that's not right, because the whole parish is in the box below. There's something wrong in there. Do you know what I mean? On your spreadsheet that's in the papers.
I'll double check that.
Yeah, you've got 2021. There's a project Holwell Parish Council tables and chairs for pavilion allocated 222, and then in the next box down it says whole parish allocated 898. Don't know if you've copied and pasted. It doesn't look right.
I'll have a look into that. Thank you.
I thought I had myself on the parishes meeting. Is one of the things I think it does have the opportunity to do that is a bit beyond Southern Rural, is potentially include other parish councils that we don't cover. I'm conscious that most area committees have parishes within them. However, we are the only area committee that isn't dominated by a major settlement. So I wonder if that's actually a way of reaching out, not necessarily to our own parish councils, but to the others that are in the Baldock area, the Royston area, maybe. I don't know if that was the case or not for the Rural Conference. My memory's failing me there, but certainly it seems like the sort of thing that we could cast a slightly wider net on, to sort of give it its own niche a little. Okay.
At everybody, and even but I don't think the community council was up and running, because that was all part of Gravely.
Yeah. Okay, are there any further comments, or shall we move to the vote on this item? As this is an endorse, I think we should vote on this one.
Chair, this motion is carried.
Thank you very much. In which case, I will move on to item 7, which is the local cycling and walking infrastructure plan. Edward to present.
Good evening, councillors. So I'm presenting to you the draft local cycling and walking infrastructure plan, which is now out for consultation as of Monday, and the consultation will run until the 7th of December. So if you can move the slide on. So the reason this is important is because this is the basis on which the county will be applying for large amounts of funding from Active Travel England and Department for Transport, and we will be securing from developers through Section 106 agreements to improve the built environment. That means particularly wider pavements, safer junctions, more pedestrian and cycle crossings, protected cycle lanes, and what we call modal filters and other traffic management measures, all designed to make cycling and walking more attractive and safer for people throughout the district. If you could just press one more. So on this issue about modal filters, just in case you're not clear what that means, it means restricting the flow of vehicles to, in many cases, just cycles, or it may be cycles and buses if it's a bus gate. And the idea of this is simply to divert traffic away from areas where there's high conflict between people who are cycling, walking and driving, and create a safer, more attractive environment for people who are cycling and walking. So that's particularly in the town centres, and that means redirecting traffic to achieve that. There are some other measures that are also included to sort of divert traffic, like creating one-way systems as well. If we move on to the next slide, please. So this iteration of the plan focuses on North Herts towns and Nebworth and one interurban route, which is Hitchin to Stevenage. So the question, of course, you're asking is, well, what about the rural areas? Now, unfortunately, this really comes down to two things. The resources available to create this plan. If you have a look at it, it's long, it's very detailed, and all of the routes that are proposed in it were audited on the ground. So there was people from WSP, in fact, cycled or walked around to evaluate what the existing situation is and then proposed changes to improve the quality of that. So we need to do that for the rural areas too, but that requires resource, which currently we don't have. The other issue is that we need to make the towns safe and attractive environments to walk in order for people in the rural areas, when they come into the towns, to be able to move around safely. So in other words, if you're commuting in from a village, and you want to get to your place of work or to the school or to the shops or whatever, then you need the whole route to be safe. So starting in the towns and building outwards is actually the right way to do it. Now, the county and the district council have agreed to work in partnership to undertake a review of this plan within 2 years of its adoption. And subject to having available funding, we will then, the intention is then to commission a second iteration of the plan that then takes in all of the larger villages, all of the interurban routes, and any other key rural routes. So that's the time scale that we're working to. That's not to say that we're not looking for feedback on the rural areas now, because that will help to feed into the second iteration, and it will also build the case for us to go on and do that second iteration. So there are some really key routes that aren't yet covered, but which are identified in the plans as being priority routes. So for instance, Ashwell to the railway station, and some of the routes around Nebworth, some of which are actually already being covered. So Nebworth, Stevenage, and so on. Stevenage, Nebworth, Welwyn, that sort of corridor is being covered elsewhere as well. If we can move on to the next slide, please. So the consultation is now live at that URL. So hertfordshire.gov.uk/LCWIP-North Herts, or you can go to the Hertfordshire County Council website and just search on the site for LCWIP, and you'll be able to find it. As I said earlier, the consultation is live now until Monday, the 7th of November. Strongly encourage you to respond as councillors representing what you know about your local area, and please also encourage your residents, local businesses and community groups to respond as well. I really must emphasize that this is not just about cycling, this is very much about walking and cycling, and pretty much everybody does a bit of that. And even if you're using a wheelchair or mobility scooter, this is still about you. And having wider pavements that are not obstructed is a big issue for people who have got impaired mobility, as it is for other people too. If you move to the next slide. So if you go to the consultation website, the main part of it is to explore the maps. And this is the page you'll arrive at, and you'll see that there is a storyboard for each of the towns and also for Nebworth and the interurban route between Hitchin and Stevenage. If you click on the Nebworth one as an example, we'll move on to the next slide. You're then taken to a page dedicated to an explanation of what's being proposed in Nebworth. Go to the next slide. And as you scroll down that page, you'll see a map showing in detail the routes that are being proposed for interventions. You click on one of those lines, you're going to pop up describing what the interventions are in some detail. If you move to the next slide, you then scroll down a bit further, it then identifies the individual interventions that are being proposed, which may be a junction improvement or some form of rerouting of traffic, a modal filter, that's that kind of thing, or a new pedestrian crossing. If you could scroll, if you could move to the next slide. And as you scroll down that page, you then kind of zoom in more detail to some of the key interventions that are being proposed. Go to the next slide. And you can click anywhere on the map. It doesn't have to be where there is an intervention proposed in this plan. You can click anywhere in the district. You drop a pin, and then you can just enter some details about what your observation there. So if you've identified that there's a junction that's particularly dangerous, or you've got a good idea for an improvement, then this is where you put it in. And all of this will get fed back to the county council and reported on. You move to the next slide. And all of the comments that are made, they're submitted anonymously and they are shown to the public. They go, they're obviously they're vetted by the web team at the county just to make sure there's nothing defamatory or inappropriate on there. But the comments are published so that other people can see them. So you can you can see if somebody has already picked up on something that you wanted to say. If you can move to the next slide. There's also a general survey that allows people to feedback generally about the plan, any thoughts they have about it, any recommendations that they can make. There's boxes they can fill in and put as much as the information they want in there. You move to the next slide. That's the end. So we are promoting this consultation jointly with the County Council. I am attending all of the area committees. I am also I'm doing town talks at the area committees where we do town talks. I'm also joining councillor community surgeries during the period of the consultation. And we're also organising afternoon to evening drop-in events. We have one organised already in Nebworth on the 20th of October. That's the Nebworth Parish Centre. We'll do similar events in Baldock, Royston and Letchworth. And that's Hitchin is already quite well covered because it has a town talk and a councillor community surgery. And that event on the 20th of October is 3:15 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Details of all of those events will go out in the MIS tomorrow. And I look forward to seeing you at some of those events. And please send your residents who have an interest in making walking and cycling safer, please send them along. On the website also is the full report, which is appended to this, to the area committee report. So please digest anything of interest in that and use that as a basis for feeding back. And the recommendations before you now are to note the contents of the report here and to encourage you individually and through the area committee and to encourage your residents and businesses and community groups to respond to the consultation before the 7th of November. So I'm happy to take any questions you may have.
Thank you very much. And actually particularly pleased to see mention of Stevenage there, funnily enough, because despite not being in the district, I think for actually most members here, that is probably our nearest large settlement for our particular area, so particularly relevant to Southern Rural. Are there any questions or comments? Mandy.
Thank you so much. That was really informative. Just a couple of questions. What kind of timescale are we looking for this being completed? I'm thinking of the local plan and how that relates to the changes that are going to be made by the local plan?
Yeah, thank you for that question. So this plan has been informed by the emerging local plan. So it does take into account the planned future development. And we will be using, in fact, the county is already using the draft plan as a basis for Section 106 commitments from developments coming forward as they come forward. The delivery timeframe will depend on the funding that comes forward. So depending on how much money we get from Active Travel England and how much we can secure from developers for sustainable transport, that will determine how quickly we can deliver. But the hope is that we will get a significant amount of money from the government, and that means the county will be able to deliver at pace. And certainly, it will realistically probably take a decade to deliver everything in there, and maybe some of the requirements will change over that period of time. But I think we can expect to see a lot of it being delivered within the next 5 years.
Well, thank you. Councillor Strong.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I actually find this quite exciting, really, because for a long time, having cycle routes or better walking routes, whatever, and a few had come into the district, but only a very, very few. But the opportunity is there now, because particularly with the local plan, and we have some significant developments on the outskirts of major, if we take Hitchin, yes, you've got the Hitchin site at whatever they call it, Thingamy Farm, can't remember what the name of it, the one I mean. But you've also got settlements that are coming into St Hippolyt's, which is I'm obviously interested in, because there's a great opportunity with the new development to make sure that they connect in to the existing routes and paths, but also the development looks what else can be done. But also if there is Section 106 money as well, that some of that can also help the infrastructure around them. And I mean, I know when the site in Purton, the Carla Home site was done, it was important that they were, when they did the design of the planning, they were looking at where they could make pathways onto the site, join up with existing ones, and make gateways into the new developments so for people to be able to walk. So to me, it's tremendously important. But the two plans, the cycling and this cycling and walking, has to be absolutely knitted with anything going forward that we're going to be seeing for development in the district. And it's just knowing, it's lovely to think that we can go and get government funding for it. I hope we are very successful, but it's also knowing that everybody's talking together. I mean, I know from even the past, over the years, one has always wanted to have the odd new little footpath here or footpath there. And again, I'll mention one because it's one that's always been on my mind, and that's in Purton. And you go up Royal Oak Lane, and halfway up Royal Oak Lane, the footpath stops and everybody's on the road. Now, that's been on the list to have a footpath in there for as long as I've been a councillor, and it probably is never ever going to happen. But if we're actually serious about it, or county is serious about it, looking at increasing footpaths, where that to me is it's prime. It's always been on the list. We're going to have a footpath in Royal Oak. Not yet, but maybe it'll come.
Well, Councillor Strong, I really share your excitement about it, because I think this really is, there is a step change, and actually the government under the previous Prime Minister actually set the tone in terms of raising the profile of active travel as a primary, as a not just a leisure mode, but actually a primary mode for people to travel, to get to work, to get to school, to lead their lives. So I would completely agree with you. It needs to be woven into every new development, and then every development needs to be connected into a wider network that allows people to be able to get to their place of work, to their schools, and so on. And it really looks like the next 5 to 10 years really will be an opportunity to deliver much on the ground that has been desired for a long time, but has just never had the resource to do it. So the only what I look to councillors for support with is some of the things which will be a little more controversial, where we are actually having to take some road space away from motor traffic to create that safer space for walking and cycling. And that will tend to be in the towns rather than in the rural areas, that it's difficult or controversial. But that's kind of where we need to get good public understanding of what we're trying to achieve and why it's a good thing, and that actually relatively small sacrifices in terms of journey time for people who are driving will more than be more than offset by the benefits in terms of more people being able to walk and cycle. And actually that then takes traffic off the roads and reduces congestion, and then it feeds back into actually making life easier for the people who need to drive, whether that's commercially or because they've got a disability or they've got young children or whatever it might be.
Just coming back on that, I was going to say you couldn't take any road space off some of our lanes for cyclists. There isn't any space to take. So, but I know what you mean on that. It was really just the point I was going to ask you is, again, how we can help you. I mean, there's one parish in the room tonight that's represented, who I'm sure is behind you, can take that message back to the next parish council meeting they have. But have we engaged with all the parish councils? Have you sort of written to them just to highlight it so that they can get it onto their agenda and encourage their members and get it on, can we get it out there? Can we get a poster onto the notice boards around all the villages? Have we done that? What about the Facebook pages?
So the answer is pretty much yes to all of that. So the county has written to all of the parish clerks. They did it on Friday. We will make sure that at least one more communication goes out to all the parishes. We have got posters which are being printed. I think are being printed tomorrow, in fact, some of which will be distributed to parishes, put up on parish notice boards and so on, and social media. So both the county and the district social media teams have all the materials they need to be pushing it out and promoting it, and hopefully that will then get picked up by the parishes and pushed out a bit further.
Councils, if it's on the council's on Facebook, I will go and madly share it for you.
Thank you.
Councillor Tandy.
Just another quick question. So with Knebworth, the Ed's End Lane, is that one of the roads that you're looking at for this? Because there's actually no cycling or footpath along there.
That is on there. I can't remember in detail what's being proposed, but we do have the maps at the back. So at the end of the meeting, if you'd like to have a look at any of the maps in the back, I've got the Knebworth infrastructure proposals. I've got the interurban route there, and I've also got the map of the whole district that shows all of the priority routes for the walking and cycling. But yes, we've got the detailed Knebworth one there, so have a look.
Okay, I have no more comments unless anyone has anything. Okay, in which case the recommendations for this item are that we note the report and that members are encouraged to respond and to encourage our residents, local organisations and parish councils to do similarly. I was going to say, as well as the communications outlined above, I'm not sure if it's universal, but parish councils that I'm aware of ask for a district councillor's report at the start of meetings, and I'll be flowing that out through that meeting as well if they haven't already got this on their agenda. Unless there are any further comments then, as I don't think those recommendations require a vote, I will move on to item 8, which is ward and outside organisations members' reports. If anyone has any reports from their wards that they would like to bring to the committee's attention. Councillor Nash.
Hi, yeah, Knebworth Twinning Association, just to say they're really trying to get much younger membership across the Twinning Association, so they've been working really hard on achieving that. They're doing a lot more with the school now. And they've actually got the French teacher at school involved, Knebworth Primary School involved, so that's really good. And they're doing more informal, so they had like a meeting in the pub for new members and things like that. And that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Strong.
Yes, in Hitched and Who, we've had 3 of the rural policing community surgery typey things going on. So I went along with the police, did one in Offaly, one in Purton and one in Whitwell. I think Heather Burrows, who's our local PCSO, trying very hard to engage. Wasn't so well attended, but I think the one in the pub for some reason had more people there than outside a closed tea room, but that's a learning. But I also attended the Guy Whisford had a meeting to reset the police priorities for the rural areas. So that was quite a good meeting, which is in Offaly. Yes, so David Sample is nodding. So it was pretty well attended, got some good discussion and some, reaffirmed some of the areas for going forward. But so yes, it's been sort of police, but I know we will have the police again later in the year. And again, I think that maybe if we boost up the agenda, we can invite the parishes if they want to come along and participate that, because the big thing they are always saying is the police never come to our meetings. So if we've got the police here, as we can lock them in the room, maybe we could get the parishes that they want to come along and attend and ask questions as well.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea, actually. We often have parish councils requesting police attendance at their meetings, or especially their annual meeting, to give similar reports. And actually, the police often don't have time to go to every single parish council on every single evening. But yes, using Southern Rural to centralise that a bit is probably a very good idea, actually. I have no more requests to speak. So if no one else has anything they'd like to raise, I will close the meeting at 8:29.